Hello everyone, Usman here. Welcome back. So today or actually, hold on, before we start talking about anything, check out my new sort of background or studio type of thing. So I'm mainly just gonna, you know, start doing my videos like this from now on because like I think this is a great way to showcase my overall space to basically give you sort of a, I guess, professional type of, outlook of everything and how I do things and stuff like that. This is my new setup. Obviously got my computer right here, so that way I have my computer right there so you guys can take a look at me like actually using the computer and everything like that. So that's pretty awesome. All right, so for today's video, I'm going to be talking about Marvel Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. They just dropped the trailer that came out yesterday, and I saw the trailer. I will give you my general thoughts on that. I'm actually going to pull up an article about it, and then after I read the article, I'm going to give you my general impressions. And then there's also another game that was created, or that's going to be created by the same studio. That's going to be released in. I think they haven't really given a release date, but I assume it's going to be released like probably about 2 or 3 years down the line after that. Marvel's Wolverine. So they're making a Wolverine game. That same studio is making a Wolverine game, and that was just like oof, amazing. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about that. But for now, let me open up the article so I can talk about it. All right. So I pulled up an article, and it's on the PlayStation.blog. I will actually put that link in the description below after I am done recording this video. So PlayStation.blog it basically explains just like everything about PlayStation stuff. I obviously pulled up an article. This is from yesterday, September 9th, 2021. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Marvel's Wolverine revealed. So those are two games that are going to be coming out soon. One of them, which is, like I said, Marvel Spider-Man 2, that's going to be coming out in 2023. And then Marvel's Wolverine. They didn't really, I think judging by what I saw, they didn't reveal any type of release date. But I'm hoping it comes out sooner. Maybe, I'm assuming probably 2 years after Spider-Man 2. Okay. Veteran developer Insomniac Games creating 2 new titles for PlayStation 5 consoles. All right, so it basically. So okay, so this is like just something that this is just like a random article, or something that one of the head of franchise strategy and studio relations, Ryan Schneider, part of Insomnia, which is the studio that's developing these 2 games. So it says, in my nearly 18 years of working at Insomniac Games, wow, it has really been that long. One of the things I've always appreciated about the studio is that it truly values and fosters collaboration. When we work together, and more importantly, when we listen to each other, the end result is always better. Nice. I think I agree. That approach even applies when we work with those outside our studio, as it's been such a pleasure to collaborate with Marvel Games, learning from and sharing with these true believers as we create games such as Marvel Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales has been a career highlight for many of us. And what's so exciting is that our collaboration isn't ending anytime soon, as today we revealed not one, but two new Marvel titles coming from Insomniac Games, Marvel Spider-Man 2 and Marvel's Wolverine. Let's start with the one most of you probably could have guessed, Marvel Spider-Man 2. We're so thrilled to continue the journey of both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in their most epic single-player adventure yet, coming exclusively to PlayStation 5 consoles in 2023. Yeah, in the first Spider-Man game, I actually only played the first Spider-Man game, like Marvel Spider-Man PS4 that came out in 2018, and that game was really fun. I mean, I played it like a year later because I don't know, I'm not really that much of a gamer actually, but I just think that the game itself was just like it looked so great, judging by like the trailers and like a little bit of like demos and stuff like that we saw, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks so great. And I've always played Spider-Man games like for like the longest time, ever since I was like a little well, I'm still very young, but like when I was very young, like probably like 6 or 7 or something like that. And so like I played those games and I've always loved them. I've always appreciated them. And yeah, when I played Marvel Spider-Man for the PS4, I just thought that was like such a great game. I played it like a year later, and like the first time I played it, I didn't finish it. But then the second time I played it, I actually finished it. Like I finished like the main story. So that's especially what I'd done, and it was great. But yeah, 2023 is when it's going to be released, according to this, especially for PS5. Now that they did it, and yeah, the first game was awesome. So yeah. Also, it's also one of my other favorite Spider-Man games. Probably my second favorite, I would assume. First one is Spider-Man 2. Came out in 2004. That was basically based off the Spider-Man 2 movie that came out in 2004 with Tobey Maguire. So that was great. Great game as well, introducing free roaming and, all that kind of stuff. There's probably a specific technical term for it, but I don't remember. While pushing the capabilities of the console will be very exciting, we're equally pumped to craft all new stories for Peter and Miles in the sequel. Just as in our previous Spider-Man games, we not only want to tell a great superhero story, but also deliver a compelling human story. One full of heart and humor that dives deep into the people behind the mask. Much of the development team that brought you Marvel's Spider-Man is returning to produce Marvel Spider-Man 2, including Brian Intihar, creative director, and Ryan Smith, game director. Today's game footage trailer is merely just a glimpse at what is in store in terms of the new abilities our heroes will acquire, suits they will wear, more on that some other time, and the villains that will try to hunt them down. And speaking of villains, did you catch the final line at the end of the trailer? We're so happy to announce that Tony Todd of Candyman fame will be voicing the symbiote-fueled Venom in Marvel Spider-Man 2. We're also delighted to welcome back Yuri Lowenthal and Najee Jeter, who will reprise their roles as Peter and Miles, respectively. We've been fortunate to work with so many incredibly talented actors in our Spider-Man games, and Tony has been such a great, wonderful addition to the cast. Yeah, I've never seen Candyman, those films before. I think I've probably seen like clips or something from reviews I've seen in the past, but yeah, I heard about them. I was like, oh, that's cool. Candyman apparently is like a horror figure. I don't watch like horror movies because I'm too scared to watch them, but no, I heard that that guy's a great actor, and I don't know. Hopefully, he'll do great as Venom when he does the VO work for him. This is what Venom looks like. Just crazy, like crazy with the white eyes, like it's insane. Now let's talk about the announcement you probably weren't expecting. Marvel's Wolverine. Back when we were working on Marvel's Spider-Man, there would be times where all of us, Insomniac, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Marvel, would brainstorm together about the future beyond the web slinger. And even in those early discussions, Wolverine continually came up as the character we'd be really stoked to work on together. Fast forward a couple of years, and we're suddenly standing in front of Sony Interactive Entertainment and Marvel, formally pitching a PlayStation 5 game starring the Adamantium Clawed mutant. Since you saw the announcement teaser, we can confirm that the pitch seemed to go pretty well. So many of the Insomniac team are such huge fans of the character, and one of the key elements that drew us to him is it's surprisingly not that different from Spider-Man. Both heroes feel deeply compelled to defend people who are less able to do so. Marvel's Wolverine is a standalone game being directed by Brian Horton, creative director, and Cameron Christian, game director, who recently led the creative efforts on Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, a game we're extremely proud of at Insomniac. In the vein of our Spider-Man games, our goal here is not only respect the DNA of what makes the character so popular, but also look for opportunities to make it feel fresh and truly reflect on the Insomniac spirit. Even though Marvel's Wolverine is very early in development, for what I've seen of its emotional narrative and cutting edge gameplay, see what I did there? The team is already creating something truly special. Being able to build a new original universe with Spider-Man and now Wolverine is such an honor for so many of us at Insomniac Games. A huge thanks to our Sony Interactive Entertainment family for giving us the opportunity to develop these games, Marvel for trusting us with characters that mean so much to so many people, and of course our fans for continuing to believe in us. So, I just read the entire article. You got a gist of what they were talking about and, what the developers and everybody else over at the studio thought, and that's fantastic. Yeah, like when I saw two of the trailers yesterday, the Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2 PS5 teaser, and then the Marvel's Wolverine teaser. And let's start with Spider-Man 2 PS5. So I thought it was pretty awesome. I thought it was very, very interesting. It was just like there was a voice in the background, like a narration of some sort. They were showing off, obviously Spider-Man and Miles Morales, basically fighting off like just different enemies and stuff like that. And then you heard a voice like narrating, and it was I'm assuming it was Craven, because he was talking like, I wanted to go after someone who's worthy of my time, and then all of a sudden I was disappointed, something like that. I can't really remember as well as I did a terrible Craven impression. No, but like, it was just like so, like it sounded so cool. And I immediately was like, that's Craven. It's Craven because that's kind of how he is. And that's just the way he talks. Not just because of the accent, but also because, he just talks like, oh, I wanted to find a worthy prey and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. So, and then when we saw Venom, well, we heard Venom. He said, "We will." That was just like, we saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So even seeing Venom in that was just awesome because I don't think we've seen Venom in a game probably in a while. Venom, like back then he was a playable character in one of these other Spider-Man games. I think it was called like Ultimate Spider-Man. That was a great game. I played it back like when I was like, I don't know, like 8 years old or something. That was a really fun game. And yeah, you got to play as obviously Spider-Man, and then like there was like missions where you could play as Venom, and it was just truly ultimate. I guess it was great, and like I'm wondering if they're gonna do that for this new game. Really, like if they're gonna make like Venom like a playable character, and like you get to play as him, and you get to do like different side missions and stuff like that. But as him or something like that, I don't know if they will. I think they'll probably just stick with Spider-Man and Miles, and you can switch between playing as Miles and playing as like Peter. So like I assume that's what they're going to be ending. They're going to end up doing that instead. But that was actually pretty cool. And hearing that voice of what was it, Tony Todd? I thought he did the voice of Venom really really convincingly. I mean, I assume they probably had some sort of like audios type of thing to like manipulate his voice and make it sound like super super I don't know, like menacing and like a monster, something like that. But either way, it was convincing, and he sounds really really like awesome, and I can't wait to see it, or to see it really, because I'm not going to be able to play it. But I'm still going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to look at the walkthroughs. I'll probably give my impressions of the walkthroughs when eventually when that game comes out. It looks like Spider-Man's using a lot of different tech, like he did in the last game. He has like these arms coming out of his back and stuff like that. Miles is probably, I guess, doing the same. Both Spider-Man, Peter Parker's Spider-Man and Miles Morales' Spider-Man, they're working together. They're fighting crime. It kind of, like it was also just it felt like it was like a teaser trailer for a Spider-Man Miles Morales movie, but it's not. It's quite different actually. So I don't know. It's going to be very very interesting. And then as for the Wolverine game, that was completely out of left field. I mean, I don't know, Wolverine. He hasn't really had like I think really for me my experience with the character in video games has been through. There's a game that came out called X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was based off the movie that came out like 12 years ago back in 2009. But like the game, I think the game is going to be like that was a game I played back then, and it was just like very violent and bloody and everything like that. So that was kind of how that game was. So, but I think it makes sense considering that you're a character that has like claws, like sharp claws in your hands, and slices and dices everything like that. So I don't know. I just thought that game was pretty fun. I hope that they bring that into the game. Like it'll be kind of like X-Men Origins Wolverine will bring that in, because that's really my own like point of reference to that. And then there's some other games like where you play as Wolverine. There are some games called X-Men Legends or something like that. And then there's like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games where you get to play as like a plethora of Marvel characters. You get to play as like Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Wolverine, obviously. And Wolverine was also like you could play as him in that game as well, but you were pretty limited with him as a character, as well as with the other characters, because there's only like a couple things that you could do in it. Wolverine's a great character. I find him to be very fascinating, and just someone that I think can deliver like a lot of sheer fun for all the fans out there, including me. So, I'm probably also not going to play that game, but I'll also do another walkthrough. I'm assuming eventually I'll play these games. Maybe if I go over to someone's house or something like that or whatever and play it. If they have a PS5, maybe I'll buy a copy of it. No, the Wolverine game, totally out of left field, awesome. And I hope they make like an MGU, like a Marvel gaming universe, just like what they're doing with the MCU and everything like that. Just like in the comics, stuff like that. Just like make it a whole universe and people can play it and have a great time and just do original stories, not based off the movies, and just do something fun and fresh and interesting. I think this Wolverine game will be based off an original. It'll be an original story, take some elements from the comics, that kind of thing. I'm assuming it probably will be rated M for mature. Either way, I'm excited for that. It's kind of like these are movies, but they're not. They're games. But games are also pretty fun too for people who play them. I kind of play them, but yeah, both games look fun. For me personally, I would love to see. I mean, these two games are great. Don't get me wrong. They're awesome. The teasers were great. I think I probably liked, obviously, the Marvel Spider-Man 2 teaser because there's more baggage with that game because, like, there's, like, you knew what happened from the original game with Venom and everything like that. And, they teased him at the end of the first game and everything like that. Wolverine there's no baggage with this. We don't really know how it's going to be, but I hope it's going to be great. And I also don't know if it's free roam. A lot of people have been talking it's going to be free roam, open world, whatever, and I don't know. It might be. Wolverine can't fly. Maybe he can, or web swing. Maybe he can drive cars or something. I think like there are some games that I really wanted to see for different types of characters, like, Daredevil and Moon Knight, all those types of characters. I think that would be so cool if they did that kind of thing. And then they could do like a culmination type of thing like the Avengers, and it would just, I don't know, work out really, really well, and it'd be really fun for everybody. I'm excited for this. It looks like a fun thing to get people hyped, to get people into it, interested. Yeah, those are my general thoughts on that. I grew up playing these video games, and just seeing it develop and like the graphics and everything like that develop is it's amazing. In the comments section, let me know what you think. Do you think these games are going to be fun, or do you think they're just going to be like, they just look boring to you? Whatever opinion you have, just let me know down below. Let me know your thoughts either way. As always, like, subscribe. Also be on the lookout for the next Photoshop tutorial video. I'm going to be doing that next. I'll see you next time.